Hello and welcome to the theElpyDimension. I'm your guide, Elpy. Today is the 27th of June, 2025, and this is the Canadian Nightcrawler bin. I said I didn't have time for this bin, and I don't, but I'm making it because this is my most concerning bin, because while all the other bins are dealing with moisture issues, it is, yesterday I looked and it was 70 degrees Fahrenheit in here. It's about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. So what's that, 23 degrees Fahrenheit about? And these guys, if you don't already know, Canadian Nightcrawlers do not like warmer temperatures. They prefer it 50 to 60 degrees. So as you saw in the opening screen, it's been a long time since I've really been in here. So we are gonna just check on them real quick, give them a little bit of a feeding. And so far, I'm not seeing any worm action. And normally I at least see worms on top. I at least see worms on top. And especially when I start moving around, we see the worms. And there's a lot of castings up here. Normally we see the worms start to poke their heads out. So I'm kind of concerned. Now the last time we were in here, I found a couple baby worms. Or I found at least one. I've seen, oh, there's somebody. So there's at least one alive. But first I saw them breeding. Then I found a couple cocoons. And then I did... no, actually, I may have found the cocoons first. Then I saw a pair breeding. This guy's still, he's big and healthy. Then I found the babies. That looks like a small worm there. We've also found a red wiggler in here. I don't believe this is a Canadian Nightcrawler. We'll leave him for now. But why Elpy? Because look at that colored tip. I don't want to say yellow without, yeah, kind of yellow tip. And they don't have the yellow. So not a surprise, because we have added soil and used potting mix. There's another one to these guys. So to find other worms, yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, when I did, and it is cooler down here, as you would expect. Now again, I don't have time to do a full dig, but look at these, look at this material. I know I put a lot of potting soil, but I can definitely see that a lot of this are worm castings. Yeah, there they go. Now one thing I could do in the future, not today, is, where's our little worm friend, is add like ice to the top of this bin. Kind of cool it down here. He doesn't look great. Is that the one we were just messing with? I know he like went away. Okay, well, I'd say I can count on 10 for sure still being in here. If you don't know, on the 25th, yeah, this one doesn't look good either. Still alive, but just doesn't look as healthy. It looks more gray. See, that guy's moving all around. On the 25th of January 2025, there's another worm. Couple of worms. Wouldn't surprise me if the composting worms are really... I will pick them out ultimately, though, when I confirm for sure that they're composting worms, because they will raise the temperature in the bin, and we don't want that. So this guy, I think, is a baby. Why? Because look at its kind of... See, it's kind of flattened tail. Kind of spade-like tail. This is a baby Canadian Nightcrawler. For sure. You don't see any of the yellow or the striping that we see in composting worms. So that's cool. Very cool. Another small worm was just anxiously crawling away from us. Yep, here's another. At first glance, I'm guessing this is also a Canadian Nightcrawler. Again, that tail. See, that tail kind of has that almost, I'll say, club-like shape. Yeah, that's a Canadian Nightcrawler baby. So we have two babies for sure that are Canadian Nightcrawlers. I'm 100% certain. This guy, not so much. Let's take a look. Help you, we don't have time for this. Okay, but we'll make it fast. Let's take a look and see if we can... I still believe. Yeah, see how this guy looks like the one before? See how that tail... Oops. Why won't you focus? See how that tail, it doesn't have... This is the mouth end here. Doesn't have that... It has a more rounded shape, and it kind of has the yellowish almost striping, and even its body, its segments are more apparent. That is not a Canadian Nightcrawler baby. And I know I said when I'm certain that they're composting worms, I'm going to remove them, but we aren't doing that today. You may have just seen a big fat cocoon, but... So, mainly... Okay, now we found two Canadian Nightcrawler babies, and I put them over there to the left. What do we think this is? A Canadian Nightcrawler baby. See how big it is? Even without... And the segments you can see. It's very iridescent, beautiful. And there, it's kind of doing the flattening of the tail thing again. But there's no coloration on the tail. And as big of a worm as it is, so dang pretty. Look at that rainbow. As big of a worm as it is, I would expect some evidence of a clitellum. So that's 3 Canadian Nightcrawler babies for sure. See how the adults... tail isn't really flattened out right now, but it don't have any coloration, and yeah, you'll see it some other time. Here's yet another worm. What are you? Now this could be a much smaller Canadian Nightcrawler. See, the tail has almost a distinct shape. No yellow tip. So that's 4 potentially, 3 for sure. 4 Canadian Nightcrawler babies. This is a cocoon. No, I do not believe it is a Canadian Nightcrawler cocoon. So we've seen some unhealthy looking Canadian Nightcrawlers. Here is another small worm. What are you? See, it's almost got a yellow tip to its tail. And it's got more stripe. The segments almost look striped. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't believe that's a Canadian Nightcrawler baby. Okay, so I'm going to have to... Oh man, this must be the corner to be in. Because here's somebody else. This Okay, let me look at it with my actual eyes. I don't know. I don't think that's a Canadian Nightcrawler. Okay, we'll have to deal with them. Alright, well, we know everyone's not dead, and this material is quite well broken down. Oops, sorry, buddy. This is a healthier looking individual. Let's see his colors. Very active, and I would say less gray. But I don't know, that guy's moving. Alright, Elpy, we don't have time for this. I know we don't. There's another worm, small worm. Yeah, we got a lot of other. Here's cocoon. Those are not Canadian Nightcrawler cocoons. Wow, look at that hole. They really do make burrows, huh? It's pretty cool. Alright. So, they're not dead. Oh, so yeah, I started it on the 25th of January, 2025 with 75 store-bought, big box store-bought worms. All the worms were alive that were in the containers that I purchased. And yeah, this material is pretty nice. I'd like to grow something in this. Here's some more young worms. This might be a Canadian Nightcrawler baby. Pretty sure that's the head. That's the tail. So we have potentially 5 Canadian Nightcrawler babies that we know of. And I can say we know for sure 10 adults are alive. And yeah, on my count in, I think it was March, I only counted 70 individuals, and they're pretty big. They're pretty hard not to miss, and I searched over and over again. So, I mean, they're pretty fast, too. They're very active, but I think it's more likely that 5 died than... I thought 5 were going to die kind of from the beginning, or that 5 would be dead. So maybe they died right away. Maybe they didn't have a chance from the door, but maybe... Oh, man, it's been 12 minutes. Maybe they died later, but okay. So here's a couple garlic scapes, and I wonder if these guys need water. We are going to put these radish greens. Yes, I know radish greens are edible. I do eat them, but I don't always get around to eating all of them. We're going to put these radish greens down here, and we're going to cover them up. Here's this still kind of sickly looking guy. We're going to cover them up. And since these guys are anemic and they prefer to come up and then take their food back down into vertical burrows, I just went and got a cup of water, and still... This sickly one. Yeah, see how gray it is? It's almost like... Yeah, it's not a happy gray at all. It's alive, obviously, but I don't know. We'll kind of put him under there. All right. So I didn't get all the way down to see if there was any of the food left that I fed them, but I know that guy's still hanging out, but at least we know he's active. Yeah, he's active. All right, and I've got some funky greens that we're going to put on top. Greens and carrots. We'll just leave it here in the middle. And here's my cup of water. All right, we're gonna I'll have to give them more another time. And just gonna put this paper towel. Actually, you know, I wasn't gonna give them this kind of stagnant water, but I am actually gonna wet this down. I do have AC running, though it's not in the basement, so it is still much cooler down here than it is upstairs. All right, well, it was an interesting check-in with the Canadian Nightcrawler bin. Yeah, let me know what you think. And thank you so much for your time and your interest. Be safe, be well, have some juice. Bye for now.